For my monomyth project, I did Mulan with the dragon. Beautiful. Yes, I know. All right. So for the first one was the refusal of call. Mulan's father is called to fight against the Han invaders, but Mulan tries to stop him because he is old and injured. This situation is unique because it comes before the initial call to adventure, and Mulan refuses her father's call in order to protect him, thus establishing herself as the heroine, which is incredibly important because, one, she's a woman, and then the call to adventure is the main scene where she's taking her father's armor and his transcript in order to take his place. Her bravery should be noted because pretending to be a man and joining the army can bring severe consequences, especially death in most cases. And taking someone else's place is symbolic of there not being a proper place for women in Chinese society. So then we go on to crossing the first threshold. It's her leaving her house. Mulan leaves the house of her father, bursting through the gate into the night. This signifies her deep desire to honor her family. The reason this is for her first threshold is because the gate to the house represents coming into the hospitality of the family. Her leaving shows that she has begun to separate herself to begin her journey. So yeah, symbolism. Supernatural aid. Her ancestors are one of the otherworldly beings who helped her on her journey, the main one being Mushu. The fact that her ancestors were looking out for her showed that she had her family's blessing, hesitantly given or not. Mushu, being mildly weak, gave her the chance to be independent. A hero always needs help, though, to show true strength. Yay. Okay, belly of the whale. So Mulan going into the camp full of men is obviously a huge adjustment because, one, in Chinese culture, women were not necessarily allowed to interact with men on a regular basis, and being thrust into this without any kind of warning counted as her final separation from her known world. So the road of trials. So Mulan's road of trials consists of the ones that Shang puts in front of her, and is part of her training to become a soldier. They require strength and prowess in a lot of different fields, and this is completely different from, say, a woman's point and what that needed to be fulfilled in that time that came as having a good household and marrying well. Okay, the temptation. Well, she sees Shang shirtless. And her not acting on it adds another layer of honor and dignity to her character. And, it's Disney, so there's that. Okay, the apostasis. I think I'm saying that right. Mulan's death took the form of being injured by Shan Yu. And because of this injury, her comrades found out that she was a woman. And instead of killing her, they left her on the mountainside. So being left on the mountainside in the snow symbolizes the cold isolation woman entered in that culture. And her resurrection was coming down to save China, but instead as a woman. She no longer had to hide who she was, which I found very interesting because of the fact that throughout the only time where she took huge action besides trying to kill Shan Yu is after she's been completely isolated, and she still has the will and courage to save her friends, even though they kind of just left her in the snow to die. Alright, so the ultimate boon, obviously, it's the climax of her journey, and that is defeating the Han leader Shan Yu, who is a terrifying leader who is power thirsty and blood hungry, and he wants to take over China. And the fact that conquering the Huns was done together with her friends shows the significance of partnership, and for a hero, they need to be able to have the humbleness to accept help. They were not seen it. So, fun fact, the Huns treated the woman with a respect that was abnormal for the surrounding peoples of that time, and they were not seen as inferior. That is why whenever Shan Yu found out that Mulan was a woman soldier, he didn't flinch at all, which is really very interesting for that time period. So the atonement with the father, there are two different ones. So the step one was mainly between Mulan and the emperor, although not her biological father. Technically, the role that it fits into was that he held the most power in her life, and she wanted the respect from him. So Mulan not only gained respect from the emperor, but also from the whole of China, and the significance of this is the fact that she did this as a woman. She did not have to do this as being a man soldier. She also gained the respect of her father while honoring him with the sword of Shan Yu. Also, this is something that was only given to the conquering heroes of China, and the fact that she was a woman, she was a woman and did all of this is the greatest significance. There's a quote I had there. The greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter. So this entire thing, her biggest point of trying to do what she was wanting to do this entire time was to bring honor to her family and to her father. So there's definitely, she did that. So the refusal of return, it was not necessarily refusal of return, but the emperor offered Mulan the opportunity to be a part of his council, and this was a huge honor considering, again, she was a woman, and in this time they were not very kindly towards them. The humbleness they required to refuse this proposal gives her character a layer of integrity. She chose not to live in a life of luxury, but also to instead return to her humble beginnings. Also, there not being a magic flight signifies that she has achieved external and internal peace. So there's that. Okay, rescue from without. So throughout this entire thing, the dragon is a huge symbol for Mulan, and especially in the very beginning, whenever she's sitting on the rock sculpture, they were saying that the spirit of the dragon came inside of her. And so her accepting the pendant signifies the dragon that is inside of her, and it also symbolizes the will of her ancestors before her, and as a guide instead of her giving the strength to defeat her enemies. Okay, so crossing the return threshold, she comes back home with the medal, which is a huge honor of the emperor, and the sword of Shan Yu. She crosses the gate into the garden where she began her journey, and her crossing under the gate contrasts the growth she's gone through since last being home. She's now not just a woman, but also a hero to all of China. And here in this one, whenever she was doubting herself on the mountain, she said, "Maybe I didn't go for my father. Maybe what I really wanted was to prove that I could do things right. So when I looked into a mirror, I'd see someone worthwhile." So the fact that she's completely grown from whenever she first left and now coming back in as knowing that and feeling justified in what she's done. So then we see the Master of Two Worlds. So another big symbol of this movie are the cherry blossoms. And at the very beginning, there's this late flower, and at the end of it, it's blooming and not falling. And the flower falling symbolizes the character development Mulan has gone through and the journey she has gone on spiritually, including her ancestors. So the flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all. Okay, sorry, awkward tripped. Freedom to live. So Shang brings back Mulan's father's helmet, I guess, that she leaves back at the Emperor's palace, and her accepting her helmet from Shang represents her taking the next steps in her life while accepting all of the things she's gone through to bring honor to her family. So there's that. We're excited is on the back. Yep.